Assalamu alaikum dear students. Today we will be discussing about anemias, but before that we have to know a few of the normal values of the blood counts. Number one is hematocrit. Hematocrit is the percentage of RBCs and it is equal to 45 to 50% in males and 40 to 45% in females. RBC count is the normal RBC count, which is 5 to 5.5 million per microliter in males and 4.5 to 5 million per microliter in females. Hemoglobin's normal value is 14 to 18 gram per deciliter, and for males it is for females it is 12 to 16 grams. Mean corpuscular volume is the volume of the RBCs, which is equal to almost 80 to 90 femtoliters, and mean corpuscular hemoglobin is almost equal to 25 to 35 picograms, while the mean corpuscular hemoglobin concentration is equal to 30 to 35 gram per deciliter. Now, what is anemia? Anemia is the decreased number of RBCs and decreased value of hemoglobin. Now let's classify anemia into different types. It can be divided according to its cause into blood loss anemia. Then there can be nutritional deficiency anemia. Then we can have aplastic anemia. Then we have hemolytic anemia. And lastly, we have anemia due to chronic diseases. According to the morphology, that is structure of the RBCs, it can be divided into three types. One is normocytic with normal RBC volume, then microcytic with smaller RBC volume, and macrocytic with larger RBC volume. A patient will present to us in an OPD with fatigue, breathlessness, or shortness of breath. They may present with palpitation as well, and on sign we will be finding tachycardia, that is increased heart rate more than 100 beats per minute. A patient may or may not have tachypnea, that is increased in breathing rate as well. Now first let's see about iron deficiency anemia. In iron deficiency anemia, there is deficiency of iron, which leads to decrease in the hemoglobin formation. As we all know, hemoglobin has a core structure of iron in it, so whenever there is decreased hemoglobin formation, there will be decrease in MCV, that is decrease in the volume of the RBC, and there will be decrease in hemoglobin concentration. Due to this decrease in the MCV, the cell will be microcytic, and due to decrease in hemoglobin concentration, the cells will be hypochromatic. So this anemia is microcytic hypochromatic anemia. In B12 deficiency or folic acid deficiency, there will be decrease in the DNA nuclear and the nuclear maturation, which will lead to decrease in the RBC maturation. Hence, the RBCs will be larger in size, and due to that they will be increased in MCV, and there will be decreased formation of hemoglobin in them due to decreased maturation. So the cell will be macrocytic and hypochromatic. Over here we have to know about what is pernicious anemia. In pernicious anemia, there is vitamin B12 deficiency due to their deficiency of intrinsic factor, that can be due to gastrectomy or gastritis. And in B12 deficiency anemia, the patient will be complaining of numbness and tingling sensation of the hand and feet, which is very important due to the fact that B12 is also important in myelination of the nerve fibers. Now, aplastic anemia. In aplastic anemia, there is due to any idiopathic cause, there is decrease in the hematopoietic stem cell production along with myeloid stem cell production, which will lead to decrease in RBC, WBC, and platelet production. So the patient will present with anemia, recurrent infections, and will have bruises, that is bluish discoloration of the skin, along with small pin-like petechiae, which are basically pin-like bluish discoloration. Now, blood loss anemia. Blood loss anemia is due to mostly hemorrhage, and due to this there is increased loss of RBC. So there will be no change in the MCV or the MCH and MCHC. So they will have a normochromatic. So there will be normochromatic and normocytic cells present in this anemia. The cause of the hemorrhage can be internal and it can be external, both. Let's discuss about hemolytic anemia. Hemolytic anemia is the anemia that is due to increased destruction of the RBCs, that is increased hemolysis of the RBCs. Hemolysis of the RBCs takes place in the spleen, as have been taught to you before. The causes of this hemolysis can be due to the instability of the RBC membrane, which can be due to hereditary spherocytosis, which is an autoimmune disease, genetic autoimmune disease, and then there can be a glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase deficiency anemia. Another cause of this hemolysis can be hemoglobinopathies, that is due to deformed hemoglobin. One is thalassemia and the other one is sickle cell anemia. Now let's discuss hereditary spherocytosis in detail. In hereditary spherocytosis, the cell membrane has a cytoskeleton. As we all know, the RBC cell membrane has a cytoskeleton that comprises of spectrin and ankyrin molecules. These cause the disc-shaped RBC cell. Whenever there is mutation in this in these two, this causes the cell to form a bulge and become spherical in nature, which then gets stuck into the spleen and gets destroyed very easily, hence leading to hemolysis. This is a hereditary disease and is very common in African ethnicities. Then the glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase deficiency anemia. This is due to the deficiency of an enzyme, that is glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase enzyme, which takes part in the glycolysis. And whenever there is this deficiency of this hormone, this causes decrease in the NADPH production, which and NADPH is basically acting on glutathione and causing its recycling, so that detoxification can take place. So whenever there is decrease in the glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase, it will lead to decrease in NADPH, which will cause decrease in the active glutathione, hence causing increased free radicals and leading to clumping of the hemoglobin and its attachment to the cell membrane. Due to this, there will be stiffness of the cell membrane, which will then lead to hemolysis. These clumps of hemoglobin, when attached to the cell membrane, are known as Heinz bodies, and these are characteristic of this disease, that is glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase deficiency. Now let's discuss about the thalassemia. Thalassemia is of two types. It can be alpha thalassemia, that is due to derangement or deficiency or missing of the alpha chain, and there can be then beta thalassemia, which is very common, and it can be due to again the derangement, missing, or dysfunctioning of the beta chain. And these are the thalassemia is very common in South Asian ethnicity. This type of thalassemia presents with microcytic and hypochromatic RBCs. Now let's discuss about sickle cell anemia. This is very common again in African ethnicities, and it is due to the mutation of the beta chain, As you all know, due to the in place of glutamic acid, that is at the sixth number amino acid, it is replaced by a valine, and this leads to sickling of the cells. And this sickling just occurs whenever the oxygen deloads, that is, it gets rid of its oxygen, that is, whenever the RBC or the hemoglobin gets rid of its oxygen, this leads to sickling of the RBCs.